At this one specific moment in time, you do not exist as a separate entity. You are an infinite multitude of possibilities coexisting simultaneously, awaiting your conscious choice of which one will materialize into reality. This is not spiritual speculation or wishful metaphysics. It is quantum superposition, a scientific principle in which particles exist in a multitude of states simultaneously until observation causes them to collapse into a single, defined state. You function exactly the same. You are quantum mechanics in living form. Every morning, with the return of consciousness, you carry the potential to embody anyone: the confident leader, the innovative visionary, the serene sage, the successful architect. All these variations of yourself exist now in what quantum physics calls the field of potential. Yet, here is the recurrent pattern. Moments after the return of consciousness, you default back to an identical version of yourself, the familiar entity, the reliable identity, the one who carries yesterday's struggles and anticipates tomorrow's difficulties. Reflect on this discovery. When quantum researchers first discovered particles existing in multiple states simultaneously, they were perplexed. How could an entity occupy two positions at once? How could an electron manifest as both a wave and a particle? Yet experiment after experiment confirmed this reality. And here is the transformative insight. You operate under identical universal laws. You exist as pure potential until the moment self-observation collapses you into a single identity. The version reading these words is just one materialized possibility, but alternative versions wait. The one who is already experiencing everything you desire, the one who has broken free from everything that no longer serves their highest good, the one who accepted the opportunity when your current self declined. All exist, all remain accessible, all are expressions of your fundamental nature. That constant heaviness you carry, that intuition that transformation is necessary. But the path remains uncertain. This is not confusion. It is an awakening awareness. It is your consciousness recognizing the recurrent pattern of collapsing into identical expressions of yourself, day after day, like a melody caught in an infinite loop. You feel the pull of those alternative potentials. You sense them in your quietest moments, in your dreams, in those short seconds between sleep and waking, when your programmed identity temporarily disappears. But then the pattern activates. Your eyes register the light. Your feet make contact with the floor, and instantly, you default back to the familiar configuration. Identical thought patterns, identical emotional states, identical behavioral responses. This collapse happens without conscious direction. It happens so fast, so automatically, that awareness of the alternatives never presents itself. Your physical form remembers how to be the former version of you, even before conscious thought engages. If this understanding resonates deeply within you, press the like button right now. This intentional action creates an energetic entanglement between your consciousness and this frequency of transformation, catalyzing a collapse into your highest expression. Every single sunrise, you experience a quantum collapse without conscious recognition. In those initial fragments of awareness, before memory is restored, before identity is assembled, before your narrative is restarted, you exist as pure potential. You embody the quantum field itself, unbounded and undefined. Then, the trigger. A thought emerges. Obligations wait. An emotion surfaces, that familiar heaviness or anxiety. In that instant, you shift from infinite possibility to a concrete identity. Quantum physicists call it the collapse of the wave function. When a quantum system is subjected to observation, it goes from all potentials to a single actuality. And you, magnificent being, are the most complex quantum system known in existence. Your consciousness functions as the observer and the observed simultaneously. You are witnessing yourself collapsing into form with every new day. If this insight resonates within your quantum core, type "I choose" in the comment section. Let those words be your declaration to the universe that you are transitioning from unconscious choice to conscious choice of which version of yourself will be manifested. This process transcends mental activity. Your entire physical system is involved in this collapse. Your cellular memory retains the programming from yesterday. Your nervous system has encoded your emotional patterns. Your heart has established its characteristic rhythm of apprehension or excitement. Before your first conscious thought forms, your body has already chosen which version of you to manifest. It defaults to the familiar pattern, the reliable configuration, even when that pattern generates discomfort. The research of Dr. Joe Dispenza has revealed something profound about this mechanism. By the age of about 35, about 95% of who you feel yourself to be is made up solely of learned behaviors, emotional reactions, unconscious habits, viewpoints, beliefs, and perceptions. You are not fully living. You are running a program. You are not making conscious choices. You are automatically repeating. Every morning offers the potential to collapse into any self-expression. Yet, you default back to yesterday's version because it is what your biological system recognizes. This is the truly captivating thing. The moment that precedes the collapse, that state of superposition where all potentials exist simultaneously. That is where true power resides. That is where choice emerges. That is where transformation becomes possible. Yet, most rush through this moment so quickly, they never recognize it. We default back to our established identity before we realize alternatives existed. Researchers studying quantum mechanics have found that observation does not simply reveal reality, it generates it. The observer and the observed are not separate entities. They form a single, integrated system, co-creating each other. When you observe yourself through the filter of your history, you collapse into that history. When you observe yourself through the lens of limitation, you collapse into that limitation. But what transformations can occur if your observation shifts? Your body does not simply recall your past. It actively reconstructs it. Every cell functions as a quantum processor, storing not just biological information, but also energetic patterns, emotional frequencies, and identity coding. After years of consistently feeling familiar emotions, of thinking recurrent thoughts, your cellular structure becomes conditioned to specific biochemical signals. Fear generates certain hormones. Anxiety activates specific neurotransmitters. Doubt initiates certain biochemical cascades, and your cells, those remarkable intelligent quantum processors, develop an addiction to these chemical messengers. They literally crave the biochemistry of your established identity. So when your conscious mind declares, "I desire to change," your trillions of cells respond, "Provide what we recognize." This explains why transformation feels challenging. You are not simply changing thought patterns. You are asking your entire biological system to go through a withdrawal from the familiar chemical environment. You are asking every cell to break its addiction to being who you have always been. As with any withdrawal process, discomfort emerges. Your body reacts with signals of distress, anxiety, even panic. Not because you are making mistakes, but because you are creating something different. Here is a truly revolutionary thing that is not widely discussed. When quantum systems undergo change, they go through what physicists call the quantum tunneling effect. This represents the capacity of particles to pass through energetic barriers that classical physics would deem impossible to overcome. Your consciousness possesses an identical capacity. When transformation seems impossible from your current vantage point, quantum tunneling allows you to jump into a new state of being, without the necessity of transiting the entire path between states. This is why transformation can sometimes happen instantaneously rather than gradually, defying our linear understanding of change. The research of Dr. Bruce Lipton demonstrates something remarkable. Your cells do not simply respond to your thoughts. They become your thoughts. When you think identical thoughts repeatedly, your cells restructure to facilitate the rethinking of that thought. Neural pathways strengthen. Synaptic connections multiply. Your brain physically reconfigures to make established patterns more efficient. You become a biological monument to your habitual self. But here is where quantum superposition becomes your greatest ally. Just as particles exist in a multitude of states simultaneously, Your cells possess the capacity to exist in a multitude of emotional states, a multitude of biochemical environments, a multitude of realities at the same time. They are not permanently trapped in singular patterns. They can learn new expressions. They can respond to new rhythms. They can become conditioned to joy as easily as they became conditioned to fear. The scientific term for this is neuroplasticity, but in truth, it is quantum mechanics in action within your biology. Every time you choose a different thought, feel a different emotion, or undertake a different action, you collapse into a slightly different version of yourself. Do this once, and your established pattern will snap back like a rubber band. But practice it repeatedly with intention and awareness, and something transformative happens. Your cells begin to anticipate the new pattern. They begin to crave the new biochemistry. They begin to reconfigure around your emerging identity. Beyond neuroplasticity, we now understand a process called quantum coherence that occurs in biological systems, where the particles within your cells can maintain synchronized wave functions. When you consistently sustain a new state of being, your entire body begins to achieve quantum coherence around that new state, making it increasingly easier to maintain as the individual cellular oscillators of your body synchronize to the new frequency. This is why transformation has a tipping point, where it suddenly becomes easier to be the new you than to revert to the old patterns. Quantum physics has confirmed what ancient wisdom traditions have affirmed for millennia. There is not a single reality. There are infinite, simultaneous, coexisting realities, all equally valid, all awaiting consciousness to collapse them into experience. This is not a theoretical assumption. It is a scientific fact demonstrated in laboratories all over the world. In the famous double-slit experiment, researchers directed electrons toward a barrier with two holes. When unobserved, the electrons behaved as waves, passing through both holes simultaneously, creating an interference pattern. But when observed, they collapsed into particles, choosing either one or the other hole. The implications are profound. Reality exists as potential until consciousness chooses which version materializes. You live this experiment in every moment of existence. Your life manifests as waves of potential until observation collapses it into a concrete experience. The relationship you are in right now is a collapsed potential. The job you perform is another collapsed potential. The health you experience, the abundance you have access to or lack thereof, the joy you feel or do not feel, all represent collapsed potentials from the infinite field of possibilities. String theory further expands this understanding, suggesting at least 11 dimensions of reality, most beyond the perception of the physical senses. But consciousness is not limited to sensory perception. Consciousness navigates these dimensions, sensing the alternative possibilities, perceiving the gravitational pull of parallel realities where different versions of ourselves are experiencing a different existence. Have you experienced moments where you felt life could have branched off in completely different directions? Standing at a crossroad, feeling two futures tugging at your attention at the same time. This is not imagination. It is consciousness perceiving the quantum field, sensing the different realities available to you, awaiting your choice of which one to collapse into. This explains why you sometimes feel like you are not living your life, because in a quantum sense, you are not. You have collapsed into a reality that is not aligned with your highest potential. You have unconsciously continued to collapse into a version of yourself created by past conditioning, past limitation, past fear patterns. But those alternative versions, the confident one, the successful one, the joyful one, continue to exist. They remain accessible. They continue to call to you from the quantum field. Every moment contains a pause, a breath, a space where all possibilities exist before one manifests. Quantum physicists call it the state of superposition. Ancient traditions called it the interval between thoughts. Modern researchers call it the zero-point field. Whatever terminology you prefer, it represents the most powerful position in existence, because it is where choice originates. Most rush through these moments without recognition. We wake up and immediately default back to our familiar identity. We are faced with a challenge and instantly collapse into habitual reactions. Someone provokes reactivity, and we automatically collapse into programmed responses. We shift so quickly from possibility to actuality that awareness of choice never presents itself. But what if you could expand that moment? What if you could lengthen that space between stimulus and response, between potential and collapse? What if you could witness yourself in the act of choosing which version of you to become? This represents the true purpose of meditation, not the emptying of the mind, but the dwelling in that space of pure potential before the collapse. This defines authentic presence, not just being here now, but being aware of all the possibilities that exist in that now. This reveals what consciousness truly offers, not simply the ability to think, but the ability to choose what reality your thoughts will manifest. In this precise moment, as you process these words, you exist in superposition. Part of you remains skeptical. Part of you feels hopeful. Part of you feels fatigued. Part of you feels energized. Part of you yearns for transformation. Part of you seeks safety in the familiar. All these versions are authentic. All these versions are valid. But in the next moment, you will collapse into one. Which one will you choose? This choice does not occur one time. It occurs thousands of times a day. Every thought is a collapse. Every emotion is a collapse. Every word spoken, every action taken, every reaction experienced, all represent moments where you collapse from infinite potential into concrete reality. And most often you collapse into identical patterns, identical identity, identical limited expressions of yourself. If you feel this shift beginning, affirm below, I am possibilities. Let the writing of these words anchor your consciousness in the superposition, in that space of infinite potential that precedes the collapse. Your nervous system has mastered the art of collapsing you into your familiar identity. It happens so quickly, so automatically, that awareness of choice never presents itself. Something happens. A financial obligation arrives. Someone offers criticism. An opportunity presents itself. And before conscious consideration, you have already collapsed into the predictable reaction. Your body automatically generates specific chemicals, specific tensions, specific muscles, fires specific thought patterns. This automatic collapse mechanism creates the restriction. Your circumstances are not creating the restriction. Your nervous system's addiction to collapsing into identical patterns creates the restriction. You have practiced being yourself so extensively that your body runs the pattern without conscious involvement. You have achieved mastery in being who you have always been. But mastery can be redirected. That same nervous system that automatically collapses you into limitation can learn to automatically collapse you into expansion. That same body conditioned to familiar chemicals can learn to crave elevated emotional states. Those same neural pathways firing in predictable sequences can be rewired to fire in new and expansive configurations. This is where authentic transformation begins, not through intensified effort or self-obligation, but through awareness of the moment preceding the collapse. When the familiar emotions surge, can you pause? When the habitual thoughts appear, can you question them? When your body prepares to react in programmed ways, can you choose differently? Initially, it feels impossible. The gravitational pull of the familiar is overwhelming. Your cells demand their chemical fix. Your neural pathways function like deeply cut channels that thought naturally follows. But every time you pause, every time you choose differently, you weaken the established patterns and strengthen the new ones. You are literally rebuilding yourself at the quantum level. Picture this metaphor. Your established identity functions like a gravitational field with its own pulling force. It pulls everything into its influence. Every thought, every feeling, every experience is dragged into the gravitational field of who you have always been. But consciousness possesses a force greater than gravity. Consciousness holds an influence greater than automatism, and that is choice. Conscious choice can evade even the strongest pull of established patterns. If you are ready to evade the gravitational field of your former self, subscribe now. This creates a quantum bridge between your consciousness and this frequency of transformation, ensuring you continually receive the energetic transmissions that support your ongoing evolution. When you decide to stop collapsing into your former identity, your physical system experiences a shock. It has been generating identical biochemical formulas for years, perhaps decades. Cortisol upon waking as you reflect on obligations, adrenaline in the middle of the day as you analyze financial standing, a mix of anxiety hormones before bed. Your body knows this formula thoroughly. It has become your biochemical signature, as unique as a genetic code. Now suddenly, you ask your body to stop this production. You refuse to provide the stress chemicals it relies upon. You withhold the familiar emotional states it craves, and like someone abstaining from caffeine or sugar, your body protests. You may experience anxiety without an apparent cause, irritability without a clear trigger. Your body is literally experiencing withdrawal from its established identity. This explains why many abandon transformation efforts. They interpret these uncomfortable sensations as indicators that something is wrong, that a return to established patterns is necessary. But those sensations are actually confirmation that transformation is progressing. Your established identity is dissolving at the cellular level, and the dissolution of even that which no longer serves the highest good creates temporary discomfort. But here is the beautiful aspect. As your body breaks its addiction to established chemical patterns, it becomes receptive to the new ones. Gratitude generates different hormones than fear. Joy creates different neurotransmitters than anxiety. Love floods your system with chemicals that heal rather than harm. And your cells, those brilliant quantum processors, can learn to crave these new chemicals as intensely as they crave the old ones. Most people are never told about what quantum biologists call cellular memory transmutation. This phenomenon explains how your cells can actually accelerate their adaptation to new biochemical states when you provide conscious intention and energy to them. By directing attention to the cells that are struggling with the transition and consciously telling them that they are safe in this new state, you can significantly reduce the withdrawal period and help your body adapt more quickly to your new frequency. The transition period generally lasts around 21 to 30 days. This is the length of time it takes for your body to break its chemical addiction to established emotional states. During this phase, you exist in a quantum flux. You are neither your old self nor your emerging self. You are in superposition, existing as pure potential, ready to collapse into something unprecedented. This represents a sacred time. It is when you are most powerful, most creative, most capable of authentic transformation. Do not rush it. Do not try to make it comfortable. Allow yourself to exist in the uncertainty, in the space between who you were and who you are becoming. It is here that miracles materialize. It is here that you discover you were never as solid as you perceived. You are always fluid, always shifting, always capable of collapsing into something magnificent. In quantum mechanics, there exists a principle that shook scientific understanding to its core: the observer effect. Simply stated, the act of observing alters what is observed. An electron does not occupy a defined location until someone observes it. A particle does not choose its state until consciousness collapses it into reality. The observer and the observed are not separate entities. They form a single integrated system, creating each other in every moment. You function as the observer and the observed simultaneously within your own existence. The way you observe yourself determines which version of you collapses into reality. When you observe yourself through the filter of your wounding, you collapse into a wounded reality. When you observe yourself through the lens of your power, you collapse into an empowered reality. The observing aspect is the creating aspect of your being. But here is what most fail to grasp. You are not observing an objective reality. You are observing a possibility and collapsing it into experience through the quality of your observation. Your consciousness is not passive. It is an active force that chooses which potential will become actual. Every time you observe your life, you are not simply seeing what exists. You are creating what exists through the act of seeing. This explains why two people can experience identical events in completely different ways. They are not simply interpreting differently. They are literally collapsing into different realities through their observation. One person observes an opportunity, the other observes an obstacle. One perceives a blessing, the other perceives a burden. And both are correct, because both are creating their experience through their observation. A seldom discussed quantum principle is entanglement assembly, the ability to create quantum connections between previously unentangled particles. In terms of consciousness, this means you can literally create new connections between aspects of your experience that were not previously connected. When you consciously choose to see synchronicity and meaningful connections in your life, you are engaging in a form of entanglement assembly, creating new quantum relationships between events that reinforce your new reality. This is why people who consciously create a new reality often report a dramatic increase in meaningful coincidences. They are actually creating those entanglements through their observation. The quality of your consciousness determines the quality of your collapse. If consciousness is clouded by past conditioning, you will collapse reality through that filter. If consciousness is clear and present, you will collapse reality from a space of pure potential. This is not positive thinking. It is quantum mechanics. Your consciousness is the lens through which infinite possibility becomes singular experience. The question then is, how are you observing yourself right now? Through what lens are you collapsing potential into reality? Are you observing yourself as struggling or as evolving? Do you perceive yourself as stuck or as in transition? Are you collapsing into the narrative of who you were or the possibility of who you are becoming? If you are ready to observe differently, declare in the comments, "New Observer." This simple act of writing signals to your quantum field that you are transitioning from unconscious to conscious observation. Your former identity does not require destruction. It simply requires the cessation of observation. When you stop observing yourself as that entity, when you stop collapsing into that identity, it naturally dissolves back into the quantum field, becoming just one of many possibilities, not your sole reality. This represents the secret of transformation that is undiscussed. You do not need to struggle with your established patterns. You do not need to overcome them or vanquish them. You simply need to stop choosing them, stop observing them, stop collapsing into them, and start observing. Start choosing. Start collapsing into something different. But what is that something different? It is not some fantastical version of yourself that requires construction from scratch. It is the version of you that already exists in the quantum field. Remember, in superposition, all possibilities exist simultaneously. The confident you, the abundant you, the peaceful you, the creative you, all exist. All remain accessible. All await your observation to materialize. The process is simpler than your mind is now suggesting. Close your eyes and feel the other version of you. Not the one processing these words with all its current struggles and patterns, but the one who has already transformed. Feel its energy. Feel its peace. Feel its confidence. They do not exist in the future. They exist in a parallel now. Another identical quantum potential collapse. When you open your eyes, a choice awaits. You can collapse back into your familiar identity, or you can hold the frequency of this new version. You can observe yourself as who you have always been, or you can observe yourself as who you are becoming. The quantum field reacts equally to either choice, manifesting with mathematical precision, whatever you choose. This explains why pretense proves ineffective. You cannot fabricate a frequency. You cannot fool the quantum field. You must truly shift your observation, truly transform your consciousness, truly collapse into a different state. This is not about verbal affirmations or visualizations. It is about which version of yourself you are observing into existence right now. Every version of you vibrates at a unique frequency. The worried you resonates at one frequency. The confident you resonates at another. The deficit-based you vibrates differently than the abundance-based you. These are not mere metaphors. They are measurable electromagnetic signatures that your body broadcasts into the quantum field. Scientists have documented that your heart generates an electromagnetic field that extends several feet beyond your physical body. This field carries information about your emotional state, your identity, your consciousness. When you collapse into fear, your field broadcasts fear. When you collapse into love, your field broadcasts love. And the quantum field reacts to these broadcasts, organizing reality to match them. This is why you can enter a room and immediately feel someone's energy. Their electromagnetic field is interacting with yours, exchanging information at the quantum level. You do not simply perceive their mood. You are experiencing their collapsed reality, the version of their self they chose to observe into existence. Your frequency serves as your calling card to the universe. It announces who you are before you speak, before you act, before you think. And the universe, acting through resonance and attraction, responds by bringing you experiences that match your frequency. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. More accurately, you attract what you observe yourself to be. Changing your frequency is not forcing yourself to feel positive emotions. It is an authentic collapse into a different version of yourself. When you truly observe yourself as abundant, your frequency shifts to abundance. When you authentically collapse into confidence, your electromagnetic field broadcasts confidence. One aspect of quantum field theory rarely explained is vacuum fluctuation, the principle that even in seemingly empty space, particles and antiparticles are constantly appearing and disappearing. Similarly, in your life, new possibilities are constantly arising from the quantum vacuum, even in spaces that appear devoid of opportunity. When you consistently hold a new frequential state, you become capable of capturing these vacuum fluctuations, turning quantum possibilities into material realities in ways that would previously seem magical or impossible from your former perspective. The shift must be authentic, it must be embodied, it must be lived at the cellular level. This explains why affirmations often prove ineffective. You can repeat, "I am abundant," thousands of times. But if you are observing yourself through deficit, if you are collapsing into lack, your frequency remains unchanged. The quantum field does not react to your words. It reacts to your state. It does not react to what you declare. It reacts to what you are. If you feel your frequency shifting, type "frequency shift" below. Let these words ripple through the quantum field, announcing your new electromagnetic signature to the universe. Now we will explore how to consciously choose which version of yourself to collapse into. This is not a one-time event. It is a practice, a skill, an art developed through consistent application. Every master of consciousness, from ancient wisdom keepers to modern quantum physicists, understood this principle. Reality manifests at the moment of collapse, and you can learn to direct that collapse. Begin with the morning awakening, that precious moment when consciousness simply returns. Before you open your eyes, before you recall your identity, pause. Feel yourself existing in superposition, in pure potential. You could be anything. You could feel anything. All possibilities exist in this moment. Now consciously choose, not from the intellect, but from your whole being. Which version of yourself are you going to collapse into today? Feel it in your body. The confident version has a different posture, even lying down. The peaceful version breathes differently. The abundant version holds a different energy in its cells. Do not intellectualize it. Feel it, and then with intention and awareness, collapse into that version. Open your eyes as that person. Rise from bed as that identity. Begin your day with that frequency. Throughout the day, countless opportunities are presented to practice. Every interaction, every difficulty, every moment of choice offers a chance to consciously collapse into your highest potential. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Which version of you responds? You receive unexpected information. Which identity do you collapse into? You encounter a familiar trigger. Who do you decide to be? The key is to catch yourself in the moment before automatic collapse. That split second where multiple paths await. That is your point of power. It is there you reclaim authority over your reality. This requires practice. Initially, you will miss many opportunities. collapsing into established patterns before you realize choice existed. But with practice, you will develop speed in catching yourself, skill in pausing, mastery in choosing. One technique that quantum therapists call pattern interruption can dramatically accelerate this process, creating a simple physical gesture, a tap on your heart center, a snap of your fingers, or a specific breath pattern that you only use when consciously choosing a new state. It creates a physical anchor that helps disrupt automatic collapse patterns. When you feel yourself beginning to collapse into old patterns, immediately use this physical gesture to create a pattern interruption that gives you space to choose differently. In time, this gesture by itself becomes a powerful tool for state shifting. This practice transforms everything. It moves you from victim of circumstance to conscious creator. It shifts you from being controlled by your patterns to being the author of your experience. It elevates you from unconscious reaction to conscious co-creation. And as mastery develops, something miraculous happens. Your default state begins to change. Collapsing into the new version becomes easier than the established one. Subscribe to anchor yourself into this new way of being. Every notification becomes a quantum reminder, a gentle collapse onto your highest timeline, a vibrational tune-up to your limitless potential. Let us acknowledge something important. Your established self will not give up easily. It will fight for survival, not because it is negative or wrong, but because it sincerely believes it is protecting you. This identity was formed in moments of pain, created as armor against a world that harmed. It believes it keeps you safe. Therefore, when you begin to collapse into new versions of yourself, your established identity will surge back. Typically, when you are tired, stressed, or triggered, you will suddenly find yourself thinking established thoughts, feeling familiar emotions collapsing into old patterns. And in this moment, you might conclude you have failed. You might believe nothing has changed, that you are right back where you started. But this is incorrect. Every time you consciously choose a different collapse, even for a moment, you weaken the gravitational pull of your established identity. You demonstrate to your nervous system that alternatives exist. You teach your cells they can survive without their familiar chemicals. You show your consciousness that it possesses the power of choice. When the established patterns surge back, and they will, meet them with compassion, not resistance. Thank them for trying to protect you. Acknowledge their concern, and then gently but firmly choose again. Collapse into something different, not through force but through love, not through battle, but through choice. Remember, what you resist persists, but what you stop observing dissolves. Think of your established self as a frightened child afraid of being abandoned. If you fight it, it clings tighter. If you shame it, it intensifies. But if you love it, acknowledge it, and then gently redirect your attention to who you are becoming, it gradually lets go. It recognizes it is safe to evolve. It understands that transformation is not death, it is growth. Some days present greater challenges than others. In some moments, the gravitational pull of the established identity feels overwhelming. Your body will demand its familiar chemicals. Your mind will insist on its familiar thoughts. Your emotions will demand their familiar patterns. In these moments, remember this is temporary. This represents a reorganization of your quantum system. It is the chaos that precedes a new order. An important principle in quantum field healing is what scientists call phase transition. The moment a system suddenly shifts from one state to another, like water turning to steam. The most difficult moments in your transformation process often indicate you are nearing a phase transition. The U system is building up energy for the quantum leap. The greatest resistance occurs right before the breakthrough. Understanding this can help you persevere through difficult transition moments, recognizing them as signs of imminent breakthrough, not proof of failure. If you are experiencing this quantum reorganization, affirm below, I release. These two words signal your willingness to allow established patterns to dissolve back into the field of infinite possibility. When you collapse into a new version of yourself, you do not just change your personal reality. You create ripples in the quantum field, affecting everything and everyone around you. This is not metaphorical. It is physics. Your electromagnetic field interacts with other fields, exchanging information, influencing probabilities, shifting possibilities. People will notice something different about you, even if they cannot articulate what has changed. Some will be drawn to your new frequency, pulled through resonance to the elevated version of you. Others may move away, feeling uncomfortable with the mirror your transformation holds up to their own stagnation. Both responses are perfect. Both represent aspects of the quantum reorganization happening around your shift. Your transformation gives others permission to transform. When you collapse into the highest version of yourself, you demonstrate the possibility to others. You become living proof that identity is not fixed, that reality is not solid, that change is not only possible, but natural. You become a walking invitation for others to explore their own quantum potential, but the ripples extend beyond those in your immediate environment. The quantum field operates non-locally, meaning changes in one part affect the whole. When you elevate your frequency, you contribute to the elevation of the collective consciousness. When you collapse into love instead of fear, you make it easier for others to do the same. When you choose peace instead of anxiety, you add peace to the global field. Quantum physicists have only recently begun to study what they call morphic resonance fields, fields of information that appear to allow similar systems to communicate across space and time. When you stabilize a new frequential state that few people have consistently accessed before, you literally create new morphic resonance pathways that make it easier for others to access similar states in the future. Your personal transformation literally changes what is possible for all of humanity, creating new patterns in the collective field that others can more easily access and embody. This explains why your transformation matters. It is not just about creating a better life for yourself, although that is vital. It is about contributing to the evolution of consciousness itself. Every time you consciously collapse into the highest version of yourself, you participate in the quantum evolution of our species. You do not just change your story, you change the story. Do not underestimate the power of individual transformation. History holds countless individuals whose personal evolution catalyzed collective change. They did not attempt to change the world. They changed themselves, and the world reorganized around their new frequency. You possess the same power. You embody the same possibility. Here is the final revelation. You do not have to collapse into a single identity and stay there forever. You can learn to live in conscious superposition, fluidly flowing between different versions of yourself as circumstances require. This is not dissociative identity disorder. It is quantum mastery. Sometimes circumstances require collapsing into the warrior version of yourself. Sometimes the healer, sometimes the creator, the leader, the mystic, the child. All these versions exist within you simultaneously. The key is learning to consciously choose which one to collapse into, based on what the moment demands, rather than defaulting to your habitual identity. This represents true freedom, not being locked into a single way of being, but accessing the full spectrum of your possibilities, not being controlled by unconscious patterns, but consciously choosing which aspect of your infinite nature to express. This is living as a quantum being, not as a fixed personality. Masters of consciousness throughout history understood this principle. They could be fierce when fierceness served, tender when tenderness was needed. They could collapse into the version of their self that would serve the highest good in any given moment. They were not inconsistent. They were quantum. They were not unstable. They were fluid. You possess the same capacity. You can learn to sense which version of you serves the moment and consciously collapse into it. The parent, the partner, the professional, the mystic, the athlete, the artist. All these and many more exist within your quantum potential. The question is not which of them represents your authentic self. All are authentic. The question is which of them serves this moment. This does not reflect a lack of authenticity. It reflects the recognition that authenticity is not about consistency. It is about honoring your infinite nature, your quantum essence, your limitless potential. It is about breaking free from the pretense of being one single thing and embracing the truth of being everything. Expert navigators of the quantum field understand a concept called the quantum superfluid state, a state where matter loses all internal friction and acquires extraordinary properties. Similarly, when you develop true quantum fluidity in your identity, you acquire extraordinary abilities to flow between states without the friction of identity crisis or cognitive dissonance. You become simultaneously completely stable in your core essence and completely fluid in your expression, a paradoxical state of centered variability that characterizes truly masterful consciousness. If you are ready to live as your quantum self, declare, "I am quantum." Let this affirmation collapse you into the version of yourself that flows freely between all possibilities. Releasing is not merely a spiritual concept, it is a quantum necessity. In superposition, all possibilities exist simultaneously. But for one to manifest, the others must be released. You cannot collapse into your new self while clinging to the old. You cannot embody your future while holding on to your past. The act of releasing is the act of choosing which possibility becomes reality. Picture this metaphor. Your consciousness functions like a quantum processor that can only run one program at a time. As long as you are running the program of your established identity, you cannot run the program of your new self. Releasing closes the old program, frees up your computing power, creates the space to run something new. But releasing at the quantum level is different than an intellectual decision to let go. It requires a complete release at every level of your being: mental, emotional, physical, and energetic. Your thoughts must release. Your emotions must release. Your cells must release. Your electromagnetic field must release. This explains why it feels so challenging. You are not just changing your mind, you are changing your entire quantum state. The beautiful paradox is that the moment you truly release, the moment you stop observing your established self into existence, it immediately begins to dissolve. Not slowly, not in stages, but instantaneously. In quantum mechanics, collapse happens without time. The wave becomes particle in an instant. And the reverse proves equally true. The moment you stop collapsing into a particular identity, it reverts back to just potential, just one of the infinite possibilities. This explains why holding on requires so much energy. You are literally using your life force, your creative power, your quantum energy, to maintain the collapse into an identity that no longer serves your highest expression. Every moment of maintaining your established self requires energy. Every second of observing it into existence depletes your life force. Releasing is not merely liberation, it is energization. It frees up all the power you have been using to maintain your limitation. So, what are you willing to release? Not tomorrow, not after everything is perfect, but right now, in this moment, what identity are you willing to stop observing into existence? What version of yourself are you willing to allow to dissolve back into the quantum field? The moment you truly decide, the moment you authentically let go, you will experience a shift, a lightness, an expansion, a sense of possibility. This is the feeling of superposition. It is the experience of existing as pure potential, ready to collapse into something magnificent. Start small. Begin with your very next breath. Can you collapse into the version of yourself who breathes deeper, calmer? Can you observe yourself as centered, grounded, safe, not forever, but just for this breath, then the next, then the next? Build your quantum capacity gradually, learning to direct your collapse consciously rather than unconsciously. The established you is already fading, not because you are fighting it, but because you are no longer choosing it. With every conscious collapse into your highest expression, the old patterns weaken. The familiar biochemicals lose their grip. The automatic reactions lose their hold. And in their place, something new emerges. Not something to be built or attained, but something you simply allow, observing it into existence. You are more powerful than you were taught. You are more fluid than you believed. You are more quantum than you imagined. And now that you know this, now that you have felt this truth resonate in your cells, you can never fully go back. The established you cannot survive this realization because it has seen through the illusion of its solidity. The universe is already reacting to your shift. Reality is reorganizing around your new frequency. Opportunities previously invisible become visible. Doors previously closed begin to open, not because you are forcing anything, but because you are finally collapsing into the version of yourself that matches the life you have been seeking. This is quantum physics in action. This is consciousness creating reality. It is you recognizing your true nature as a being of infinite potential, learning to consciously collapse into your highest possibility. Your established self served its purpose, taught its lessons, provided its protection. But now, transformation calls. Now is the time to collapse into the version of you that has been waiting in superposition, ready to be made real the moment you observe it into existence. Take a breath. Feel the shift. You are not the same person who began experiencing these words. You have already begun to collapse differently. The quantum shift has already been initiated. Your established self cannot survive what you now understand. And that is not a loss. It is a liberation. It is not an end. It is a beginning. The quantum field is vibrating with your new possibility. Every particle in existence is reacting to your shift in consciousness. You have moved from victim of unconscious collapse to conscious creator of your reality. This is no longer just theoretical. It is your lived experience. Remember, you exist in multiple states until you choose. Every moment, every breath, every thought offers the opportunity to collapse into your highest potential. The established you, built on fear and limitation, can no longer contain you because you have discovered the secret. You were never solid. You were always quantum. You were always free. Anchor this transformation by pressing the like button. This action sends ripples through the quantum field, strengthening your new frequency and attracting the reality that matches your elevated state. Now move forward, understanding that transformation is not something you must chase or earn. It is something you choose moment to moment, collapse by collapse. Your new reality is not approaching. It is here, awaiting your observation to manifest it into existence. The shift is complete. Your established self has dissolved. Welcome to your quantum life.